All right, welcome. Welcome to another video in my series. I'm an insurance adjuster. My name is Daniel Brant. Today, we're going to do something just a little different. I am going to talk about the new hype. The new hype is PlayStation 5. Now you're thinking, what in the world could an insurance adjuster talk about when it comes to video games? Well, stay tuned because you are going to be amazed. All right, well, now that I got your interest, again, my name is Daniel Brant. I'm an insurance adjuster, but the important part of what I'm about to talk to you about is the fact that I am a homeschool dad of 7. Now, we did have 8 kids, but we lost one. Our oldest son, he was 26 years old when he was killed in a car wreck, but I just wanted you to know that. So I am actually a dad of 8. But currently we have 7 children who are living. The reason why I bring this topic up is I think it's an important one for those parents out there that are trying to make decisions for their children. This video game era, this online gaming network, it's getting pretty huge, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, so there's no doubt there's people making money. So the fact that Sony just came out with their brand new console is intriguing a lot of people, and so I thought I would throw a video out just to try and talk about it, and maybe I would even sit there and talk a little bit about the pros and cons of video games. So I know this is a hot topic, but I just wanted to give you my opinion. Hey, take it with a grain of salt if you'd like, but something that I am compelled to bring to everyone because it's just on my mind. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the statistics of video game usage. I'm going to talk about the negative effects of video games. I'm also going to talk about the benefits of video games. And you're probably thinking, boy, that should be a good one. I'm also going to talk about parental controls and resources for your kids. So there is a way out for you. There's healthy use, and there's also some alternatives that you could use for video game usage. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about the choice that you as a parent have towards your children. So let's get started. All right, first and foremost, I'm going to bore you with the facts. Bore you, because there's got to be facts out there that make sense for people. And I'm kind of a guy who likes statistics. I like things that make sense, and I like to make decisions based on facts. So I'm going to talk about that. So more than 90% of American kids play video games. Can you believe that? 90. And I'm going to leave a link at the end of the video showing where I got all these statistics from. These are real facts. The number might be as high as 99% for boys and 94% for girls. Crazy. And also, it's not just kids playing, okay? How many dads like those video games, you know? I'm guilty of it because I was back there doing it too. Currently, I must admit my gaming is way down. In fact, almost non-existent at this point because I got a lot of kids. Not a whole lot of time for playing games. So according to the Entertainment Software Association, that's where those statistics came from. 99% of boys and 94% of girls. Now, 58% of all Americans play video games, and nearly half of Americans over 50 play. You hear that? 50. I'm 53, and half of us out there are playing video games. So it's a big industry. Don't doubt that for a minute. Now, this organization also found that 45% of gamers are women, and that the average gamer is 30 years old. Did you think about that? 30 years old. There's a lot of people out there that are 30 years old and they're playing games. Now, an overwhelming number of American children between the ages of 2 and 17 are playing video games as well. And a new study released today by the NPD Group has found this out. According to this research firm, 91% of the kids between 2 and 17 years old, or about 64 million people, are playing video games. And that's up 9% compared to the year before. Now, a research analyst focusing on internet and technology at Pew Research Center stated that according to the center's 2017 survey, so this is a little bit old, imagine what it's doing now, it's probably even higher now, among adults ages 65 years or older, 82% say video game gun violence contributes a great deal or a fair amount to the country's gun violence. Nearly double the share of those between 18 and 29. So what that tells me is that the older generation, the ones that have been around the longest, normally are the wisest. Isn't that a fact? I tell you, there's a lot of old people out there that I wonder where is their intelligence today? Because it's left the building. You know, it seems like, where is the old people of today? We've lost their intelligence because they're really smart and we hardly ever listen to them. We do tend to listen to this group of people between 18 and 29 a whole lot, and that's amazing that we do that. So old people think gun violence has gone up. Young people say, nah, certainly hasn't. So here's some more research. Who plays the video games? Well, according to 2 recent studies about young children and tweens and teens, the Center on Media and Child Health, 66% of tweens ages 8 to 12 play video games for an average of 2 hours a day. That's between 8 and 12. Now, 56% of teens ages 13 to 17 play video games for an average of 2.5 hours. Man, I don't have time for 2.5 hours to play video games, so how in the world are my kids having time? I don't know. But boys typically play video games more often than girls, and over 80% of both tweens and teens have their own console. A lot better than I had when I was a kid. I might have had a Sony Walkman when I was a kid. Boy, I'm dating myself, aren't I? Sony Walkman? Kids are looking and go, what the heck is that? Yeah, Sony Walkman. So, young children ages 2 to 4 play for 21 minutes a day. Now, where do you think they play? The iPhone. Absolutely, they play all the time on the iPhone. And those aged between 5 and 8 play for 42 minutes a day. So that's double. So it's obvious, clearly the time just goes up. It doesn't go down. So why are video games so popular? Research shows that video games are popular. The research says they enjoy these games for a lot of different reasons. The motivations behind video games varies depending on the child or tween, but research shows that video games allow youth to escape their problems. Doesn't that hit home? You know, when I was a kid, the only way I could escape my problems was to run away, was to disappear, to walk down the street or go out and walk the back 40 or go hide under a bridge and throw rocks. I didn't play video games. You know, we just got away. We got a chance to think about our thoughts and get away. A lot of times I came back a whole lot better. The problem is video games are, and I'll go into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Another factor or motivation is it allows them to try on different personalities. So think about all these games. What are they? Well, I'm going to be a shoot 'em up killer guy, or maybe I'm going to be a sniper guy, or maybe I'm going to be a fantastical little princess that gets to walk around and be somebody special. So they try on all these different personalities. Or maybe a really heavy, overweight guy that can't even run wants to be a rock climber, and he gets to climb and jump off these big rocks and whatever, whereas a skinny guy wants to be a muscle man and, you know, and all of a sudden become the person he's not. So it allows them to try on different personalities. It allows them to socialize. They spend a lot of time talking to other people. And it allows them to engage in challenging and rewarding based experiences. Makes sense. Now, if you're finding any of this information useful, you're liking it, please don't hesitate to hit the little like button and subscribe to my channel. You never know what I'll come up with. So now, obviously, we talked about the good things of video games. Now let's talk about the negatives, because there's always a negative side. So first and foremost, there are risks in video games. Scientific research has shown time and time again that children learn from what they see on the screen. If they see violence being rewarded, they're going to learn that being aggressive is a good way to get what they want. And this belief can have a long-term effect on that child's behavior. The negative effects of video game playing may include cyberbullying. We hear a lot about that. Many online games allow the players to interact with other people via text or voice chat, and your child may be exposed to threats, often offensive language or objectionable content. They may even engage in being bullied by others. There's also the risk of sexual harassment. Now, female gamers are typically targeted for this sexual harassment, so that's definitely something to be very concerned about. Another risk is aggression. Children can learn that violence is an appropriate way to solve conflicts. And evidence shows that playing violent games has the potential to increase aggression in some youth. I mean, think about it. Back when we were kids and we were playing, cowboys and Indians, what do? I mean, we were out there to kill the Indians, or, the Indians out to kill I'm going to scalp you, you cowboy. So that was definitely, violence. Anytime that we would play in those types of games, it would draw us out. Now, this risk also is anxiety. Some children may develop anxiety as a result of playing these games. These are high-intensity games, and sometimes they're very real. These virtual reality headsets now that they put on put you inside the game, so very realistic, right there in the game. It also has a risk of affecting the children's sleep. Now, video gaming before bed can contribute to a variety of sleep problems, including poor quality of sleep or not enough sleep. How many times do those kids stay up late playing, I've got to get to the next level, and they just stay up all night? The other risk is obesity. Now, video gaming may contribute to obesity. I don't know if you guys used to play video games or still play video games, but what do? The first thing you want to do is grab a bag of chips or a couple bags of popcorn. I mean, it's pretty much typical that you're going to be chomping down on something while you're playing video games. So I wanted to go over some of the popular games that are out there right now, because now we're on the negative effects. Okay, so one of the games is called The Last of Us, and I want to be clear up front. I did not play any of these games. All I did was research them based on some conservative websites that kind of gave a background of what these games were about, and also from the creators themselves. So I kind of mixed the two, where I took the creator and I took some parental advice. I also went to a blog site there where the kids got to respond to what they thought about the video, and then the parents got to respond. And it was an interesting mix to see the responses of both sides. So The Last of Us. The description on this video would be incredibly dark, emotionally disturbing, and difficult to live with. This is no easy ride. Players hack and blast away at human and humanoid foes with an arsenal of knives, guns, axes, explosives that they modify with scavenged bits and pieces. Men, women, children, and even a very pregnant woman are all murdered on screen in gushingly bloody ways. Man, that's like creepy, don't you think? That's like that horror movie. But that's a game your kids could be playing. Another one, Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not saying it right. Tsushima. People spit gore after being poisoned, tortured, tied up, and used for archer target practice, and utilized as brutal tools of hacked open terrorism by both sides of the conflict. Blood flows in rivers on these gory battlefields. Limbs and heads are lopped clean off. Bodies are ferociously impaled. Sneaking attacks rip open jugulars before a gurgling death. Men lit on fire writhe and scream, or they might be beheaded in a merciful finishing blow. That's terrible. Goodness gracious. A description of the video game that my kid is going to play if I'm not watching what they're watching. So a movie called Graymore. Parents stated, good game, but not for kids. Okay. Predator, hunting grounds, violence and scariness, and extreme language. Okay, doesn't sound like it's for kids. Final Fantasy VII Remake. There is a significant amount of foul language and a decent amount of violence. I guess that was a review of kind of halfway. A decent amount? Okay. How about Demon's Souls? That doesn't sound very good right from the name. The violence and the dark tone are the two areas for parents to watch out for. Okay. Resident Evil Village. Now, when I was looking up Resident Evil, I was like, wow, there are a lot of games about Resident Evil, so that sounds terrible. Graphic, fantasy, zombie violence with lots of gore. Sounds like we're in the middle of Halloween here, but this is what the people are playing, and that's just scary. And the list went on and on. I stopped looking because it was crazy. Now, there are some benefits to video games. And so I bet you're wondering, yeah, see, you're just looking at the negatives. Well, no, I'm here to look at the positives as well. Children learn from what they see on the screen. Didn't I just say that about the negatives? Well, yes, the positive also applies to that same thing. So if you're giving positive content or good content for that child to see, then they're going to learn from what they see. People treat each other right, people treat each other with decency, kindness, then they're going to mimic that. There are also benefits of video games. They include physical activity. Have you guys ever seen the Wii games where you can play tennis and, swinging that thing around, or the dance game where you can jump around and dance on? So yeah, there's some positive parts to that as well. You can get some exercise. So they can play a video game and get exercise at the same time. So that's pretty cool. Now it says pro-social skills. Interesting word. Video games that encourage the player to be helpful and cooperative. This may positively affect the child's real-life helping behavior. So I would like to see more of those games, but I'm not sure a whole lot of those exist. Maybe for the younger ones, but definitely not for, I don't think a teenager is going to sit down and go, I want to play a helping game. So I'm not sure that applies. Cognitive skills. Video gaming can improve brain functions like visual processing and information filtering, and problem-solving skills. Definitely, you can help on those things. You can have creative thinking skills. Video games designed with a specific purpose have the potential to educate children, such as games designed to teach healthy eating habits. Definitely. So research is still emerging in this field, and more studies need to be completed before we know the long-term effects of video games on the health of our youth. But I can tell you one thing, just from a dad, I don't want my kids watching that violence. That's not helpful. So keep that in mind. Now, again, if you're getting any type of information out of here that you find is useful or good, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my videos. Like I said, you never know what you might see. So there's a healthy use in video games, and I wanted to give you a little bit of help to help you as a parent to maybe restructure a little bit. Set up boundaries for your children. You know, they don't always have to do what they want. Boundaries tend to be good for children. They like structure. And I've noticed that the times when my kids are left alone to do what they want, what is the first thing they're doing? They're, Dad, I'm bored. Give me something to do. So then I'll set them up something to do, and maybe we can work alongside them. And it's amazing how many hours they can do this thing and not complain. Video games are also a big waste of time. So agree on a certain amount of time that they are allowed to play these games and suggest other activities that they might enjoy. Make sure you get your kids to do their homework. Make it a reward that maybe they can play 30 minutes of the video game after they've done their homework, but make the homework the priority. Now remember, the content of what your kids play is just as important as the amount of time that they spend playing. Check the ratings of these games. 5 minutes of bad, that goes a long way. Keep the video game systems out of the bedroom. What? You're probably thinking, there's no way my son or my daughter would allow me to take their game console out of their room. I'll tell you, if they give you a hard time about it, you could always take it away for a long time, and that'll solve the arguments. By keeping the video games in the family room, you can see how and how often they are being used. Okay, what I mean by how and how often, what if they're using it in the wrong way? Maybe they're chatting to friends and they shouldn't be chatting to them, or watching or downloading the wrong game. And then if you look over there and you see your kid and he's like, I've been over there about an hour, don't you think you better get up and do something? You do your homework. Then you'll be able to see what's going on. Studies have shown that children with electronic media in their bedrooms are more likely to be overweight and have sleep problems. And that's just the beginning of the problems as far as I'm concerned. And make sure that you review and monitor their interactive conversations and also their online features. Safety tips for you. Many games are multiplayer in nature and will allow your child to chat and share content with others who are often strangers. Be careful. Also, potentially make it a social event. Maybe you could have the friends over and have a bunch of other kids, instead of them all sitting in their bedroom, have them all come over and make it an event at your home. Video games are fun and challenging for adults too. So parents, why don't you guys get in there too? Make it a night. Make it a family gaming night. Discuss in-game purchases ahead of time. Okay? Can't buy anything without asking mom and dad. Okay? Those are very important things to discuss before you play. Help your child or team to understand that in-game purchases are costly, and set limits on whether they can or cannot make these types of purchases. So I can tell you one thing, if they were making those purchases, make them accountable for those purchases and say, well, I want to check that every week, and whatever the cost is of those in-game purchases, that's coming out of your paycheck, the next one you get. Parents can also consider restricting or disabling those functions. There's no need to buy yourself to the next level. Let them work on it. Now, a very trusted group of people out there is called Focus on the Family. Maybe you're not familiar with them. This is not a plug for them. It's just that we've got a lot of information from them over the years, raising our children, and they do definitely have some good information. They said parents use video games as a babysitter and therefore don't interact with their children as often. And that's really true. Children spend more time indoors and do not get enough exercise. Obesity in children is at an all-time high in the United States, and children have more and more reasons to stay indoors. Playing the games can take priority over responsibilities of home or school, definitely. And children who play games that are mature or violent may act inappropriately at home or school. These games can also be expensive, and children tire of them easily. New games then are needed, and they cost between $30 and $50. So the desire for the next game, the next console, is constantly being challenged. More and more children, especially boys, are becoming addicted to these video games. There is a psychological effect. A study in the Hammersmith Hospital in London found that playing video games triggers release of dopamine. Dopamine production in the brain doubles during the video game play. The increase of the psychoactive chemical was roughly the same as when a person is injected with amphetamines. Crazy. So again, if you're getting information from this video that is helpful, please hit the like button. So now you're wondering, well, what are my alternatives? Well, here's a few. Make the switch. Take the TV and the computer out of your child's bedroom. First and foremost, say, hey, from now on, it's in the living room. It's a good start. Also, something me and my family do, and we've done it forever, eat dinner at the table. What? Are you crazy? We're gone all the time. How are we going to do that? We'll make time to eat dinner at the table. It's amazing the conversations that will occur at that table and how you will bond as a family. I also think you should preview TV shows and video games before allowing your children to watch or play them unsupervised. Could you imagine if you walked into your kid's room and said, hey, can I sit down and play with you on that game, Resident Evil there, and see what's going on? I bet you that kid would cringe and say, no way, Dad, forget it. Well, if you saw some of the violence, you'd be like, son, that game's not going in this house. That's crazy. Move the television set to a less prominent position in your home. I know that's kind of weird, and people are like, oh, that's crazy. You know, but the problem is the TV is centerpiece in our homes. A lot of times sitting over the mantle or on this huge wall. Well, the kids see that and go, yep, it's got to be on because it's right there in the centerpiece. We took our TV out of the main room and we put it off to the side. And in fact, for a period of time, we took that TV completely out of the room and only brought it in on Fridays for Friday movie night. You're like, wow, that's crazy. Well, I didn't get there overnight. It took some time. So that was the one thing is, last note in here said, be patient. Your children will adjust if you slowly move in the right direction. Another thing is set limits. Post a schedule. You can set the time that your kids play on this. Say, hey, between 7 and 8 is the only time you're playing this. After dinner, that's when you're allowed to play or whatever. And that's going to be in the living room right after dinner. After dinner cleanup is done. So you get your kids in there, help clean up. You're amazed how fast they clean up that kitchen knowing that playtime is coming right after. Expect your child to complete their homework before playing video games. And if they're bad, hide that remote control. Ever try to play a game with no control? It's really hard. So anyways, that would be a good one. I've done that before. So last and least, you as a parent get to choose. I want you to understand that you're the boss. You are the parent. You get to make decisions for your family. Hey, why don't you come with me? We're going to go down to the grocery store and do some shopping. Or, hey son, I was thinking about going down to ice cream shop. Do you want to come? Now, those are different things. Maybe even your son needs an idea to do something. Maybe you could set him up with a trade, or you could try something new. Like, hey son, I've got to change my oil in my car. Do you want to come out and watch me? Hey, how about you give me a hand instead of just asking him if you wanted to watch you, because he might say no. But what if you said to him, son, I really could use your help. Give me an extra hand when I need that wrench or when I'm crawling up underneath the car. Make him feel valuable. I think that's the problem with most of the kids today, especially when we talked about the fact that most kids are just looking for another identity. It's because they're not getting the love and the acceptance that they need at home. Now, I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent, and I'll be the first to admit to you that I've failed a lot. There is no perfect parent. But what you can do is learn from your mistakes and learn, kind of like when you look back at your childhood and you say, you know, I remember the time when my dad didn't have time for me, or my mom wouldn't listen to me, or, you know, I felt like my mom was working too much, or maybe my dad was gone all the time. And you can remember the feeling of going, man, I just wish my dad was home. You know, one of the things that I've tried to do with my boys is always do things with them. I have 5 boys and 3 girls. Like I mentioned, I lost my oldest son. But he did come to work with me. I actually was self-employed as a carpenter for the longest time and then moved into a remodeler and a builder after that. But he came with me to work. I remember him sitting there in the corner of the room, and I was doing his math and his science and following up because we homeschooled our kids. And I said, son, yeah, when you get done, you'll be able to help me. You'll be able to shoot that gun. And he was so excited. He was like, Dad, I get to shoot the nail gun. And he was young. He was 10 and 12 when he first started coming with me. You know, for the longest time, he was just there for company. And he was having some troubles at home with Mom, so I decided to take him with me. And he ended up really loving that. So bad behavior sometimes comes from your children who are venting. They're letting out steam and letting you know that there's something not right in the home. And that's you and your wife's trigger to be able to say, something's not right. We're not doing something right. Maybe you're working too much. Maybe you're away from the home too much. Maybe you're too busy. You know, one thing that you could try is just try that home dinner at the table there, the whole family at the table. Your kids will look at you and go, man, you're crazy. We're not having a dinner together. We always eat out on Fridays. Well, then maybe you make it as a restaurant that you all sit there. And then one of the rules that we also set up is we said no phones at the table. No texting, no phones at the table. One thing I've noticed is that I found that we had a child at one point in time, he was so quiet, he wouldn't say a word. It was humorous because that whole time that he sat at the table, he didn't say a thing. So finally, I was like, okay, you over there, you're going to have to calm down, and maybe you can save your thoughts there for another day. I want to hear from you. And he actually sat at the other end of the table from me. And I said, son, it's your turn to talk. He's like, I don't have anything to talk about, Dad. And I said, well, you think about it, and tomorrow you'll have a time to talk. And what I meant by that was the next dinner time, I was going to give him first shot before anyone else could talk. I was going to give him a chance to share what was on his mind. Well, I have to tell you, I can't get him to be quiet now. It's a joy. He talks all the time. And in fact, now he's one of the ones that I have to tell him, okay, son, we've got to give this one over here because he's actually your quiet brother right now. He doesn't do a lot of talking. So we just work around the table and we monitor the people at the table and how much they speak so that everyone gets a chance to share. It's a very special time. So that being said about video games, it's a tough topic, and especially with that Sony Playstation, and your kids are probably going, Christmas! Yeah, I want it for Christmas, is the best games. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But, you know, the consequences or the cost of making that decision, that's you, parent. You got to make that decision. Make that decision wisely, and hopefully you'll make the right decision for your children. So again, my name is Daniel Brant. I'm an insurance adjuster. I'm a dad of 7. I'm also a homeschooling dad. And I want you to know that if you have any comments or questions, you feel free to type those in the comments, shoot me an email, whatever you'd like. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about anything that we've talked about on this video and how I can give you suggestions to help you through this tough time of raising kids. Don't forget to like and subscribe my videos. Check out my other ones. I'm going to have those coming to you. That subscribe button, I think, right down there. Don't forget to hit that. Smash it. We're just hit it lightly. Whatever one you want to do, that's up to you. I'd love for you to take a look at my Instagram page. I do have, I'm a big photographer as far as my love for drones and photography. My name over there is at Clear Sky Drone Imagery. I'll put a link in the description. And I'd love for you to take a look there. Just like some of my photos if you like them. If you don't, just graze through them. I really spend a lot of time looking at them, and I think you'll like them too. But until next time, this is Daniel, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.